Hi, I am your host, Brent Feldman. Welcome to another episode of Mix and Matchbox. I am here today with Joe Wurm, who's the Director of Corporate Partnership for GOLI, or Gifts of Love International. Welcome to the podcast, Joe. How are you doing?
Thank you. We're doing great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Great to have you. We had a great chat just the other day, and I'm happy to have you on the podcast as well. We'll kind of just jump right into the questions and stuff here really quick. And I'm looking forward to asking some of these.
Sure.
Yeah, you've made some pretty cool and distinct career shifts,
Yeah.
throughout the time throughout your career and stuff. And how did you kind of get to like where you're at today?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is definitely a career shift for me to go from for-profit to profit or to nonprofit. But basically, I started out my career in sales, and sales business development has been always something that I have just kind of naturally gravitated towards. And I was working in a St. Louis packaging company for a long time. And one of my friends who owns a manufacturing business along with his brothers, he invited me to come work for him back in 2012, which is a pet care products company. And our company is called Cosmos Corporation. And we make products that care for dogs, shampoos, oral care products, things like that, flea and tick preventative products. And this company has a benevolence philanthropy called Gifts of Love International. And so it's all about our giving back. And so the company was developed or created in order to give back to the community that we live in and the communities abroad. And so I came to work in innovation and created a bunch of new products, worked in new product development for about 10 years. And early this year, I was asked if I would move over to the not for profit side. So I'm still with the same family of people that I've been with for the past 11 years. And this year, now I have an opportunity to actually work directly for the not for profit GOLI. And it's been very, very challenging, but at the same time, very rewarding. And I really am enjoying it.
That's awesome. That is really cool, and it's neat to be able to, yeah, do something that's more directed maybe
Yeah.
by your heart too,
Yeah.
which is fun. I guess in general, I know you kind of mentioned the connection there, which was the philanthropy side of Cosmos
Mhm.
really kind of bridged in the side for GOLI. Is there anything else that you could say about how those kind of two worlds get stitched together? In general, the nonprofit and the for-profit? Are there like similar lessons that seem to apply to both, even though they seem like different worlds?
Yeah, I think the thing that stitches them together for me is the business development and relationships. Because I really felt like this role that I have, director of corporate partnership, is all about relationships. And so when you go from someone not knowing that you exist all the way to someone actually giving towards your philanthropy, that's a lot of ground to cover. And the common denominator for me is relationships. And so my role allows me to meet a lot of new people, which I love to do. And it's really about building that relationship and letting that heart connect from one person to the other, because the person will give based upon that heart connection. And it's really kind of an easy thing for us is just go out, create awareness, and create relationships, and people will naturally gravitate towards the things that they see. People give to what they see. And so if you can show them what you're doing, a lot of times they will give, whether it's $5 or $5,000. It doesn't matter to us. We want to give that person the ability to connect to their heart and allow them to give, because it's really a significant thing.
That's really cool. Just digging in on that a little bit more, as you kind of go in for the ask. I know that there's quite a few people that go from kind of like, yeah, it's sales to that the sort
Hmm.
of development sort of role. Is the ask any harder as you go to a nonprofit sort of role, as opposed to in the sales where it's more direct and transactional? Like, yeah, is it tough at all?
I would say no, it's not, because it's no different than just asking a person to join you in something that you're working on. I think when we go into it, of course, our entire mission or our entire nonprofit is based upon people giving, right? But it it really isn't something that we're asking for, like in a business relationship. It's really just trying to connect with people, building that connection to where they understand what you are doing and what you're trying to accomplish, and you just let the heart do it. You just let the heart take over, and there's no hard feelings if they don't. Like, in a business for profit, you could kind of get disappointed. Sure, I'm sure you could probably get disappointed here, but we really try to just connect people to what they see and what they're trying to accomplish in terms of their giving.
Cool. That's really neat. Um, I guess being a director of product innovation formerly sounds like a really neat role. And it sounds like it also, puts a lot of emphasis on sort of like the new and creating and,
Yeah.
and I know that, finding that inspiration sometimes can be kind of interesting, or where you pull inspiration from. But how did you kind of feel like you continued to be creative and come up
Mhm.
with those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's all about connecting those dots. And so in order to connect those dots, you have to go about your day or your week or your month, always looking for new things, always exposing yourself to new experiences. So I can find inspiration a lot of different ways. I mean, just driving down the highway, I can find inspiration by noticing something, and because you have these other experiences that you have put yourself in front of over months and years, and sometimes it's just connecting those dots from new experience to new experience. So I always would like to go to trade shows, walk around, see new things, uh, spend time online looking at new ways people do things, new companies. So it's about accessing the creativity through new experiences.
Cool. Did you have more epiphanies in the shower or the boardroom?
definitely, definitely the shower. That's interesting you say that, because I heard that. I read somewhere that they said when you shower, it's accessing the creative side of your brain, and I thought that was kind of weird, but it really is funny how you do have those new ideas when you're taking the shower.
It is funny
It's
where it hits.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Yeah, but I do enjoy the collaboration with others in the boardroom, and new ideas do find their way there as well.
Yeah, that's fun. That's cool. Um, what would you say makes a good product versus a bad product? And definitely you don't have to name any names here, but
Yeah,
obviously, certainly you're gonna have things that were a wild success and things that maybe weren't
yeah.
so much. But and then kind of maybe what's that, like the joy versus the failure too, as you kind of see things grow and succeed, or
Yeah.
maybe not do so well.
I think hands down, the difference between a successful product and a not so successful product is how much you put the person that you're designing that product for at the forefront of your design process. Because a lot of times you can design something, think it's really great, think it's really cool. There's 15 people in the room and we all love it, but we've never actually taken the time to ask the people that we designed it for to see what they thought. And so, in my career, we've done focus groups and things like that, but it really is important to put the person that you're designing for at the very forefront of the process. So I think that's what really, for me, that's what really makes is the hallmark of a successful product and a not so successful product. Because if you've taken that time, you're probably going to hit on some of those things that the person really wants or needs for that matter.
Definitely. Does it affect you in one way or another? Like if something does well or doesn't do well, or do
Oh,
you get to know that's
absolutely.
happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody wants to have that win, right? But the losses aren't so much fun. And, you can be so close to something and you be emotionally attached to the idea. It really is disappointing when either they don't get it or we didn't design it right. I mean, I could tell you of some of our product launches that were not so successful, even though the product worked. The product was a great product, but you have to make it so simple so that they get it right away. I mean, if you try to uh, if you try to make something that takes time for them to actually think about or educate themselves on it, you're probably going to have some challenges with that because it has to connect immediately. It really is disappointing when we don't get it right, and I've been on my side or my share of those losses as well. But we always do learn something. One of my favorite authors, John Maxwell, he wrote a book. It was the first book I ever read from him over 20 years ago, and it's called Failing Forward, and it's all about learning from your failures. He also wrote another one called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And it's really so true that you do learn just as much in the losses as you do in the wins. But everybody wants to win, right?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
there is a lot of wisdom that comes from the losses for sure.
Absolutely. Um, so, now I guess, how do you view your role in, Gifts of Love International GOLI? Like, what's that kind of lasting impact that you now are looking to make in this role in the organization that and the people
Yeah,
help? Because I don't want to say you have a heavy, kind of anybody in a nonprofit really has like that sort of like they're doing a lot, but what's that impact you're looking to make?
yeah. I'm looking to create more awareness for the organization because the more awareness that we create, the more people know our story and the more people that will join us in our mission. Because the mission is to serve underprivileged children, and there are a lot of opportunities there, and it can be overwhelming. All of the opportunities that you see before you, um, but you have to really look at what is it that's in front of you. So I tend to say, okay, what is it? What's my next step? What's the thing that's right there in front of me? And that's what helps me to manage that feeling of being overwhelmed with all the needs and all the opportunities that are out there. Is just look at what's in front of you and do that, because that will eventually lead to the next thing in front of you and the next thing and the next thing. So that's really how I look at
Dang, that's a good lesson.
it.
um Sometimes I guess, maybe stepping into a role where you are helping people opens your eyes to all these other areas of need,
Hmm.
for sort of people around the world. And definitely you mentioned that it gets, sort of like overwhelming sometimes, but, obviously you're keeping a focus by, just moving ahead and, helping how you can. But just as much as obviously you're helping in this capacity here, are there any other sort of things that you feel like now that you've been exposed to that you'd like, oh, I'd love to help here. I'd love to help here
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. It is there there are a lot of opportunities out there to do things, to create programs. One thing that we've learned recently is our the company that founded GOLI, which is Cosmos, a group of people within the last 2 years have done a series of fundraisers to create a computer lab with internet access. So we have Starlink, satellite internet, and we've actually accomplished that. And that computer lab's in Haiti. And the thing that we didn't realize was that when have a project and you create this project, you're also creating new need. And that new need that we have now is to fund the teachers. And so it's it's really kind of interesting because you could be creating a product or a project and not really realizing that you're creating more need after that. Because what do you do after that? And then the other part of that is we're going to help create an English school within that same group, and that's more need that we have. So now we need to find people that can actually teach English to people who are not native English speakers. So the whole goal is to give them English speaking skills and to be able to find remote jobs so that they can actually develop new skills and really benefit their families through an online remote workforce opportunity.
Wow.
So it can be overwhelming, but you, like I said, if you go back to do what's in front of you, I think that you'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's also maybe a good lesson in concerted planning too, because just as much as like,
Yeah,
the inner
absolutely.
drive to like help and be there for people and discover new
Right.
opportunities, you have to, take a step back almost and realize what all the repercussions of that, sort of even intent is. You're gonna have to train people and get people up
Yep.
to speed, and
Yes.
yeah, because
Yes.
providing a resource without the extra supporting materials maybe isn't help at all.
Right, right. And what do you do when the funding runs out? Because you sit there and develop and plan and do all these things, but you have to you really, like you said, it's a lesson in planning. You have to think down the road what's it going to do when your funding runs out. So it's a challenging thing for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great point. We've worked with like organizations like Brown School of Social Work at WashU and
Hmm.
PRC, and watching them go through the grant funding process, and certainly
Hmm.
having that grant expire, and then everybody's plans change, and they have to
Right,
keep those things in motion. Yeah, so
right,
it's a
right.
darn good point. Well, cool. I guess, as I mentioned up front that you've had, some shifts in your career, and definitely, one was starting, at, launching something. So, what was one of the biggest challenges that you kind of faced while you were launching Cratex, and why was it hiring?
Yeah, about I think it was back in 1999. A friend of mine, he invited me to come work for his business, and he had a business called Cratex Corporation, and the role that I had was to sell a specific product. And what we did was he actually built a business out of that called Jumbo Sack Corporation. And what it was is these big industrial bags that manufacturers use to put dry, free flowing product like cereals and chemicals and things like that. And so we launched Jumbo Sack. And in the very beginning of it, it was very difficult because we had this huge order that you work so hard and you finally get this big order. And there was a defect that we had. And so we had to replace that and save the customer. And it took oh my gosh, it took, we had everybody that we knew was helping, all hands on deck, helping to replace the product and get it back to the customer. So I would say that when you have those product failures in launching a new either project or business, they can be devastating to you. But what I learned was that sometimes we have to go to greater extents in those times. Not sometimes, all the time. We have to go to those greater extents in order to satisfy the customer. It can be devastating to you when you have something like that happen, and that happened to us right at the get go. But we survived it. We managed to keep the customer, replace all the product, and move forward. And Jumbo Sack is still a thriving business to this day, and I'm just happy to be a part of that. That
Yeah.
was a great experience for me. It was really a great experience.
That is really cool. Yeah, I think I was insinuating hiring because I feel like that's usually the thing that
Oh,
is tough.
yeah.
But
Well, you got to get big enough to hire people. And that, that is true. Uh, hiring is one of the hardest things that you have to do. I mean, I've hired a lot of people and reviewed a lot of resumes, and sometimes the resumes that you get are like, did you even read the job description? It's pretty actually it's amazing how many people don't read the job description, and it really makes you feel bad because they're just looking for a job, right? And,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, you can't help them. But hiring is definitely one of the hardest things to do when launching a new business for sure, um, because those people are an extension of you.
Hmm.
As
Yeah.
with your business, they're an extension of who you are, extension of your brand, and you have to get it right. And many times we don't. We think that we got it right, but I don't know. People are complicated. That's putting it nicely, right?
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, but that is cool. I definitely do like the lesson on product failure and stepping in and making sure that you make it right, make the customer happy though too. I do feel like that's super important because certainly, not everything goes to plan, even with
No,
sufficient or plenty of planning. And when that happens, you gotta step in and do the right thing. So
you do. You really do. And we had in that product failure that we had, our manufacturer backed us up. I mean, it was $100,000 loss to
wow.
him, and he stood behind the product and he made it right. And the customer is still a customer to this day, and that's been probably over 20 years now. And that customer we got on a cold call years ago, and it's still a customer today because we we did everything that we could to make it right, and the manufacturer backed us up. So that's the other lesson is having good suppliers.
Yeah.
It really is a relation. I mean, it really is a relationship and a partnership. Uh, and if you don't have that, you're not gonna succeed very. You're not gonna succeed very well.
Absolutely. Boy, I keep drawing those lines in my head that yeah, it all comes back to the partnership relationship
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Well, cool. Well, aside from that experience, I know also that you're a growth coach and do coaching for businesses and business owners and
Hmm.
people in business. And that puts you in a position of seeing the struggles of people and you get a chance to help improve, their lives and what they're doing. What makes that in your current position the same and what kind of makes it different?
Yeah, I guess the same is business development. That is that's been something that I've just been able to just hit the ground running with, going from the for profit to the nonprofit of GOLI is the business development. That's been the same. The different part is is that everything that you do is just basically related to people just giving their time and their treasure towards a mission that it's not a product that you're putting on a shelf and someone's buying. You're really, the different part is you're really telling a story, and you're telling a story about people who are, in our case, underprivileged children, and you're really trying to make that heart connection with people so that they can, have that opportunity to give. I think that there are a lot of CEOs, there are a lot of business people, there are a lot of individuals that want to give. I'm convinced of this, that they want to give, but they just don't know where to give. They don't know who they could give their money to that they feel that it's a trustworthy organization. And I think that the different part is for us to go out and make that trust happen, and that's the creating the awareness, which is what I've been talking about, the relationships. Because if you don't have that trust, those people can't do what's in their heart to do, which is to give towards some cause that they believe in.
Definitely. Yeah. On the business coaching, end of things, I've asked this to one other person who happened to do business coaching and stuff too. Is business coaching pseudotherapy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is, because I think that one of the things that that I see as far as like a common thread with people is that it's about self awareness. It's I think a lot of people don't really have the self awareness that they need in order to get the results that they want. But in coaching, it's all about the answer is always going to come from within. It's all about asking questions. It's all about is kind of bringing that out from inside the person out. The answer is there. It's just that they haven't had the opportunity to actually formulate their thoughts, or they haven't been given the opportunity, or they asked the question to help them find the answer from within themselves. So it is pseudotherapy. I think for sure it is. It's definitely something that would benefit everyone if they have a coach. I mean, what is it? Jim Rohn, he said, you're the average of your five closest friends. And I don't know if it was Jim Rohn that said that, but I think it was. But it's true. I mean, you really are the average of your five closest friends, and I think that we see that when we are in those growth coaching experiences. Personal growth is something that I'm passionate about, and I just naturally want to help people. So yeah, I think that would be my answer to that question.
Cool. In order to help businesses achieve growth, you really have to find that dig to the root of the issues that are getting in the way, like we're talking with the pseudotherapy. Do you have any tips or advice on how to get to that source?
Yeah.
Are there any common things that you see people constantly struggling with? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said earlier, self-awareness I think is one of those things that people struggle with. And I think that the answer to that is personal growth. It's learning. It's constantly. I would say that my secret to my success, for me, this is the answer to me, for me, is learning. Is always trying to learn some new skill, learn a new way to do things, learn about something, reading. The old saying is, those who read lead, right? And I really think that is because you're putting yourself in front of new information, new experiences. So I would say that people struggle, in myself. I mean, we all have our struggles, right? I think it's because we haven't put ourselves in the position to grow. If when you're growing, it's uncomfortable, but that's when you know that you're growing, is when you put yourself in a situation where you're not so sure that how it's going to turn out, and I think that's where we see growth. And I think that the other thing, part of that learning is what I call skill stacking. Is you take one skill and you find a skill that's complementary. Like, for example, graphic design. If you have that skill, you learn that skill, then you learn web development, right? You start stacking these skills on top of each other, you become very valuable. And I think that those are ways that we can learn and grow. And yeah, I think that's probably a good theme, that learning is probably my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. I can certainly see how that could be, the thing that obviously is helpful, for people's own growth. And and as I think about it too, it also helps with the relatability,
Yeah,
I know, even as you and I were talking, side interests and hobbies, whether that be like, audio stuff, just, fun things, but,
yeah,
having those relation points are incredibly exciting when you learn things outside of your normal
yeah,
boundaries. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Well, all right. And then the last one is just a fun one. But I know that you're a barbecue fan and have tried some amazing, legendary places. You told me about a few of them, probably more than a few, which actually sound all incredible, and I got to keep them on my list. But can you call it right now on who has better barbecue between Texas and Kansas City.
Yeah, I can call that one right now.
Oh,
Texas barbecue for me for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
that's hands down. And I've been to a lot of Kansas City barbecue restaurants. Like we
Mhm.
said, we were talking. Every time I go through Kansas City or to Kansas City, I stop at a couple of them at least. And I've been to not all of them because there are always new ones, especially here in St. Louis. I can't believe how many new places. I've given up trying to hit them all because there's just too many new ones. But for sure, Texas barbecue, and I've been to several of those as well. The difference is, I think you were going to ask me, what's the difference? The difference in approach, and I would say that the difference is how they go about cooking it.
Mhm.
Because in Texas, you see a lot of those restaurants are offset cookers, and they're using sticks. They're burning wood, and you know, I I would. I mean, there's so many barbecue restaurants. There's like 3,000 barbecue restaurants in Texas alone. It's just actually staggering. But the approach is different, for sure. Like in Kansas City, most of the restaurants that I've seen, maybe not most, but a lot of them use the industrial cookers, which they're gas fed, and then they put a log or two in there, and the heat does most of the work. And a lot of times those restaurants don't really have, and it's not all of them, but a lot of times they don't really have that great smoke taste that you're looking for. The ones that do have the actual wood burning cookers, you can tell a difference. But in Texas, a lot of those restaurants are those offset cookers, big giant oil propane tanks and things like that they create into some cooker that is fed with post oak, and I think that's the difference. And then of course brisket, sausage, those are things in Texas that you see a lot. But I just prefer that. It's just me for sure. I just prefer that over Kansas City barbecue. Well,
I get it. I
it's
actually
just
I almost
there's
knew
no
you were
difference.
going to say it. I
It's just really not. I mean, it's not a competition. I mean, Kansas City has great barbecue, right? But I don't know. There's just something about building a fire and the artistry that goes into that cooking. Because it's hard to keep a temperature at a certain temperature when you're using just wood and steel. It's all about airflow, fire management, clean fire, clean smoke, and that's not easy to do. I mean, I struggle with it. I've got 10 smokers here at my house. I love to cook,
You've got
and I love to.
10?
Yeah, I think I might have 11 actually.
Oh man.
But I like to build them also. I like to build them just as much as I like to cook on them. But I've got a propane smoker, I've got an electric smoker, I've got a ceramic cooker, I've got a trailer cooker that I built, took 2 years to build. It's in my garage. I've got an offset. So I like to do the different, methods of cooking. And it's hard to maintain that unless you're using something like gas or whatever. But, the difference is, though, the difference also in Kansas City versus Texas is, like I said, a lot of those Kansas City places are using those old hickory pits, which are great cookers. They're made here in Cape Girardeau. I actually met the guy one time that owns that business. They're awesome cookers, but there's just something about building a fire and using actual wood and coals to keep that fire going. It just creates a much more flavorful in terms of smoke, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. No. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad to get that opinion. I think you told me about the trifecta of places that you visited in Texas
Yeah,
the other
that
day,
was awesome.
and I don't think I mean, like, it made me want to go. You know how
You
convicted
should
you were,
go.
but yeah. I now want to go. I'm marking it on my list. I got to do it.
Yeah, that's the birthplace of brisket, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but they certainly have a lot of great places there in Lockhart.
I'm not even making this up. I actually have brisket burn-ins in my fridge. I'm looking forward to it for lunch. I can't. Not making that on Derek. But
That's hilarious. Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
I am a
Nice.
barbecue lover as well, but I don't have 11, 10, 11 smokers. So
10 or
yeah,
11. I lost count because I think I got rid of one. I had to count them again.
yeah,
They're cookers. They're everything from a grill to a smoker. So I
yeah.
think that's all barbecue to me. It's all using fire as your medium for the most part. I'm gonna get rid of my gas propane one that I had because I had a mouse grow a nest in it, and
Ooh,
that's just disgusting. So that
that's
one's going to the dump soon.
that's not the flavor additive you want.
No. Yeah,
Oh,
I power washed it all out. I was like, this is disgusting. I can't use this to cook ever again.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't think I could use that either. Well, I really appreciate your steadfast answer on that. That was that was much appreciated. And honestly, it was great to chat with you about your career, some of the lessons and stuff that you've learned, and really, yeah, it was awesome to be able to chat. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been another episode of Mix and Matchbox. I am your host, Brent Feldman. We will be back soon with more content. Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.